Jade Cargill allegedly blames Tiffany Stratton. WWE botched their own surprise reveal. A huge NXT title change. And more. I'm Ollie Davis, and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Friday's episode of SmackDown was main evented by Tiffany Stratton defending her women's championship in a three-way against Jade Cargill and Nia Jax. But because this was a match featuring Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill, something had to go wrong. Near the finish, Cargill took out Stratton with a Jaded. Jax broke up the pin. During all of this, Jade got busted open, but she had an Eye of the Storm on Nia anyway. By this point, Tiffany had recovered and broke up that pin, and then tried to steal the win for herself by pinning Nia. The referee counted 1. The referee counted 2. But, weirdly, stopped counting at number 3, calling it an earful even though Jax didn't kick out. Nia can then be seen suddenly stopping selling being knocked out and talking to the referee. Then Jax kicks out in slow motion. The fans started to boo as Tiffany, Nia and the ref tried to figure out what to do next. Stratton ultimately hit the prettiest moonsault ever to retain, keeping her undefeated in 2025. Not that you'll know that if you watch the highlights on YouTube, as WWE have edited out the botched pin, going from Stratton breaking up the pin straight into her prettiest moonsault ever win. According to WrestleVote, everything went awry because Jade legitimately busted herself open. Tiffany was always scheduled to win, but Jade bleeding made them come up with the finish on the fly, resulting in the clunkiness we saw. It's extremely difficult to communicate and execute everything on the fly so quickly when the show has less than 3 minutes until it's off the air. The cut on Jade's face turned out to be pretty bad. She posted a gruesome photo on her Instagram the following day. Well, that's all that's sorted, then just a case of an unfortunate injury making the match unravel with no one truly at fault. But just one more thing. A Twitter user called MILF Becky Lynch posted after the SmackDown finish what they believed was supposed to happen. Tiffany was late to break up the pin. She was supposed to push Jade out and steal the win, and that was the end of the match. They've done similar finishes at house shows. They included side-by-side clips of the SmackDown finish and one of the match finishes from the Road to Clash in Paris tour, where Tiffany, Jade and Nia wrestled in a three-way every night for 5 nights. But as Norm once said, opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. What does this fan on Twitter know? Apparently the whole thing, as Cargill has allegedly liked that post. Now, we've only got the MILF Becky Lynch's word to go on here. Twitter have made people's favorited posts private, so they can only be seen by the person doing the favoriting and the person whose post has been favorited. But according to MILF Becky Lynch's screenshot, Jade Cargill's verified account has endorsed that post, which likely won't be well received by WWE. This isn't the first time Jade's attitude has potentially affected the women's locker room. Fightful reported earlier this year that Cargill had told Shayna Baszler that she needed to learn how to work, which got her significant heat behind the scenes. Jade versus Nia versus Tiffany was actually supposed to happen at WrestlePalooza, with it even being included in the official t-shirt match graphic. But Stratton was reportedly put in concussion protocol after the last time she wrestled Cargill, meaning the match got delayed until SmackDown. But that's not the only moment botched in WWE this weekend. Saturday night saw the NXT PLE No Mercy, and Jacy Jayne defending her women's title against Lola Vice. Unlike the SmackDown women's title match, the closing moments went off without a hitch, as a mysterious hooded figure attacked Vice at ringside while the referee was distracted, letting Jayne retain. No, instead the botch happened after the match on WWE.com's official match report, where they initially wrote, Jacy Jayne retained the NXT Women's Championship thanks to a shocking assist from Lainey Reed. This is only the first line of the recap article, as later on, Reed is only referred to as a hooded figure. The article was quickly updated to have no reference to Reed, with the far more vague, Jacy Jayne is still the NXT Women's Champion, but not without some controversy. Reed had previously been removed from the WWE Speed title match against Sol Ruka due to a foot injury, which now seems to be a work. Reed had been interacting with Jace's Fatal Influence faction for the past few weeks, a faction that just lost a member on Thursday. Jasmine Nix, who announced she was leaving WWE as the two sides couldn't come to terms on money, where she said she was offered a deal worth less than $80,000. Elsewhere on No Mercy, Javon Evans beat Josh Briggs, following Javon's SmackDown spot answering Sami Zayn's US title Open Challenge the night before. Sol Ruka retained her Speed title against replacement opponent Jada Parker after Lainey Reed was definitely injured. Jordan Grace beat Blake Monroe in a really fun cage match, which had diamonds instead of thumbtacks. Ethan Page retained his North American title against Tavion Heights. He'll face AAA Latin American champion Dr. Wagner Jr. next. And in the biggest result of the night, Ricky Saints beat Obafemi clean to become the new NXT Men's Champion. But the biggest news of the night is the next step in the interpromotional warfare storyline of NXT versus TNA. As Ava announced that next month, after talking to TNA's Director of Authority, Santino Marella, the 7th of October episode of NXT TV will have a special theme, bringing back one of the most successful non-WrestleMania pay-per-view brands ever, Invasion. The show will feature 2 Survivor Series matches of NXT versus TNA talent, the lineups for which will be announced on tomorrow's episode. Dark States will also take on the Hardys in a title-for-title match where everyone will be barred from ringside and there must be a winner. But NXT isn't the only place crossing the line, because us here at WrestleTalk are going full TNA too. Never go full TNA!
Once a year, a show nobody asked for. Get ready for an impact. This is TNA season.
From a specific time period, ages ago, not the current product, which is actually now just WWE, and it's actually pretty good.
As Luke and Ollie review the full Aces and Eights storyline.
There's the boom. Deer in the headlights.
Jumping up and down, up and down.
Jumping up and down, up and down. It's Jumpy Jones over
Referee
here.
Jones over here.
WrestleTalk Extra. Cross the line. Watch episode 1 now. And cross the line on patreon.com/WrestleTalk to watch episode 2 onwards.
AEW sees your 5-on-5 person matches TNA and NXT and raises you 1 ring. On Saturday's episode of Collision, the women's division continued its long-running storyline of lots of goodies versus lots of baddies. Jamie Hayter beat Julia Hart, but was then attacked by the rest of the Triangle of Madness until Queen Aminata ran down for the save. Hayter then got on the mic and said the only way to settle this is in blood and guts, AEW's version of War Games. This will be the first ever women's blood and guts match, after being an annual occurrence since 2021. Big stipulation usually takes place on an episode of Dynamite just before the summer, but this year's is happening relatively late, and could be potentially saved for the upcoming Wrestle Dream pay-per-view. This comes the same week that Tony Khan announced and unveiled new women's tag team titles, but we don't yet know how the inaugural champions will be decided. Women's blood and guts? A women's tag division? I'm seeing double here. 4 AEW women's storylines. It turns out that just focusing on making your product the best it can be, rather than getting sucked into a petty back and forth with a competitor company, is the more effective way to sustain and grow your wrestling promotion. Despite WWE counter-programming AEW All Out on the 20th of September, forcing AEW to move All Out to an earlier start time in the day, the pay-per-view has reportedly performed well above most expectations. Some predictions had the buy rate around 110,000, maybe 125,000, which would be more in line with August's Forbidden Door show. So the Wrestling Observer's report of 135 to 140,000 buy estimate is fantastic news for the promotion, especially going against ESPN's debut WWE PLE WrestlePalooza that same day. Khan said of some other companies' tendencies to counter-program him, well, we've been having a great year. We've been able to stick and move and make it work really well for us. There's always going to be tough competition, and this sport, it's very tough competition. The kind of competition that makes you work really hard 52 weeks a year. Damn it, I kind of wanted Tony to just scream D's nuts down the camera at WWE. Don't worry though, other wrestling promotions will happily oblige. MLW opened their Fury Roadshow on Saturday with general manager Cesar Duran saying this in a promo. You love Major League Wrestling, and Major League Wrestling loves you. We have a legacy in the making tonight. And while some other company packed up their big show and shipped it to Saudi Arabia to take that blood money, we came here with the real deal right here in Texas. Former TNA president Scott D'Amore, who now runs Maple Leaf Wrestling, has also called out WWE in his most recent column for Uncrowned. TKO's Mark Shapiro may be the most honest executive in all of sports. His admission that TKO feels Vince McMahon screwed up by pricing WWE tickets for families and not squeezing every penny out of fans was very, well, direct. We're approaching the point where the get-in price for WrestleMania is going to be massively over what many fans can even afford to save up for. And I agree this is short-sighted. They are freezing out the next generation of wrestling fans. WWE, which, let's remind ourselves, is already making more money than ever before, is on the verge of severing that and having only the wealthy be able to attend the matches. Interestingly, D'Amore then pointed out how competition can help the fans here. AEW has a real opening here, just by continuing to price its tickets so anyone who wants to come can come. Aces and Eights is one of the most loved and hated storylines in TNA history, and Luke and I are reviewing the whole epic saga over the next 4 months. First episode is up for you to watch for free right now, where we mostly laugh at Hulk Hogan growling like a dog. Click the video on screen to watch it right now.